Yeah, 3, 2, 1, go. Looks like I might
Okay.
need to reset Imek's stream because he is a little bit behind. There we go. All right, I'm going to take audio from Imek once again. Panda with a nice, easy transition to camp. And Imek with the same, and we're off. Creeper Woods, let's go.
Okay, well, hopefully Panda doesn't immediately crash this time.
Yes, and hopefully the meme seed turns out to be a good one.
Oh, I hope so.
Well, we already have 469 from Imek, so the memes continue.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. I also like people's choices of characters. That's another thing that kind of helps set people apart. There's in this case, Imek and Panda both running using the same character, but obviously, like the skins that you get when you enter Minecraft Dungeons are, for the most part, original for this game, with the exception of Steve and Alex.
Yeah. I always run with Alex.
Yeah, Alex is a good one. I feel like I attempted a kind of a meme run of my own. I did a no weapons playthrough, which was absolutely not a speed run, probably the opposite of a speed run, if anything. But I was barefist Steve for the entirety of that, which was a lot of fun.
Man, I cannot imagine doing something like that.
Yeah, it requires a lot of patience, a lot of healing, especially at the beginning, and yeah, I've figured out that if you skip the tutorial and you don't get the fishing rod that you get for completing the tutorial, it is still possible to get through Creeper Woods, but the fishing rod helps a great deal with just stunning enemies.
Yeah, the fishing rod's actually an artifact that's impossible to see in the 80% room. Because we don't do any levels that drop it.
Yeah, I suppose not, because you can still get it. I assume you'd get it from the vendor occasionally as well, but you're not going to get it as a loot drop from anything.
Yeah, no. It's not going to be seen.
And not especially desirable for anybody who wants to. Like, there's other strategies.
Panda's got a swift bot here and just making real fast work of getting a nice head start over here against Imek.
Does he have the vendor, or has he skipped that for now?
No, they've both got vendor.
I'm looking for the little icon, but it may be covered up in Panda stream. I'm not sure. And once again, for folks in the chat, it's important to remember that these are being timed through in-game timers that just take into account the levels. They don't take into account load times, which is why, even though the runners started at roughly the same time, you're going to see slightly different times on the timers.
If we were doing load times, I would be out immediately. It would not be a single chance.
Well, thanks once again for all of the folks who have raided into the stream. It's great to see you guys. Hope you all stuck around. And make sure you do !runners in the chat to check out all of the folks who are part of the event. We are speedrunning Minecraft Dungeons in a 1v1 8-person tournament that's going on all weekend and potentially into the first weekend of February as well, just to decide the overall winner once we get to the semi-finals and the finals. We've already had 2 runners, Foot Cream and Remortals run, and Foot Cream won in 2 matches. We're now going into the second of potentially 3 matches between Imek and Exotic Panda.
Panda got Tasty Bone from the pig second time in a row.
Yep, that's the worst of bad luck. But yeah, here's hoping that the chest at the end of the level yields something slightly more useful.
Panda's going to run with 2 dogs again.
You got to run with the pack.
Surprised he's not equipped for the Tasty Bone.
Yeah, it might help to just gather a little bit of XP for some potential leveling up later on. Also guide some of these enemies away, but it's early days, and he's making his way out of the level easily enough. Just got that exit objective in mind, I suppose, at this point.
That was a nice end seed. It wasn't too long.
Oh, getting stuck a little bit on the stairs there. The geometry of the level can sometimes be tricky like that. I have a really hard time getting up the stairs in Soggy Swamp.
I have no idea what he got stuck on.
I think it was
a block or anything. Just block him.
Yeah, there's occasionally spots on those stairs that, even though they look uniform, can just kind of snag you, which is really bizarre, but that's how it happens. So both players looking very level at this point. Panda getting a swiftness boot from the end of level chest, which is precisely what you want, even if the early tasty bone was not so great. Let's see what Imek gets. That is also a boot of swiftness. Okay, we have a very even race to start off with. Checking the merchant, he has a death cap and an Evo robe. He's going to go for the emeralds so he can buy those.
Oh my god, that's an Evo robe with swift foot.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so once again, Imek pulling into the lead potentially just on sheer luck alone. And once again, looking very excited about the prospects of this for the run.
That's an insane drop to get. That's like the best thing you can find in a vendor.
And so early as well. That's going to mean a lot of time saved over the course of this run, as long as he can keep it together.
So yeah, so we're going to start to see Imek zooming ahead as soon as he gets to the same point in level. It's the exact same armor that kind of essentially saved my GDQ run.
Yes, yeah, basically, yeah. If you didn't get the Torment Quiver, then you were at least going to go fast.
Yeah.
And both players making their way up to beacons. Imek gaining a little bit of ground that he might have just dropped a little bit of time just thanks to spending a little bit more time with the vendor than Panda did.
Oh, this is a very unfortunate beacons. It's the bad. So there's two layouts that beacons can have. This is the worst one of the two because it's longer to complete.
Yeah.
And it's riddled with baby zombies and creepers.
Baby zombies,
Which is the worst combination. Because the baby zombies will make you trip when they hit you, and then the creepers just immediately blow you up.
Yeah, you get a very slight knockback, which just means you can't move as swiftly as you otherwise would, even with all of these extra enchantments and artifacts powering you along. So your best bet is to outrun them, which Imek is able to do. Panda also making it to the bridge, but now you can see Imek is basically caught up to where Panda is. That time lost has been pretty much immediately saved.
Yeah, Imek's even further ahead as well if you look at the timers with the load times. So Imek is really pulling ahead now. Oh, and here we got the skeleton horseman.
There's both hitting that skeleton horse trap. I assume the sort of mini bosses throughout the stage are the same. They're based more on the seed than they are on randomness and chance. So yeah, both players obviously hitting the same skeleton horse trap. You saw that in.
Birdie's done a lot of work on skeleton horsemen recently. Kind of figuring them out, and they always have like a very set kind of size trigger. And you can actually hear them. Like, they make a kind of vague zombie, like, husk noise.
Right, so you can kind of determine when they're going to appear.
Yeah, as long as there's, like, no husks around to, like, throw you off.
Sorry about the slight stream buffer there, folks. I am capturing this from both of the runners' Twitch channels, so they are live now if you want to go and drop them a follow. But, yeah, we just had a slight buffer on Imek's stream. Nothing too bad, and obviously he's still perfectly on pace. Oh my gosh, the raids are coming in hot today. PMC Trilogy with the raid. Thank you so much. Yeah, once again, I'm just going to give Imek Stream a quick refresh.
Shout out to PMC. He had a fantastic GDQ run as well.
Awesome. PMC, welcome on in. And thank you so much for bringing your community over. Welcome to the Minecraft Dungeons Speedrun Invitational, where you're currently seeing Imek and Exotic Panda in their second match of potentially 3, although with Imek's setup so far, he's getting some pretty great luck, so... it's a little too early to call it, but we might be seeing another sweep from Imek here.
Right. Yeah, both coming up to it. Well, both at the ambush now. So actually, not that much time like separating them right now.
Yeah. And it all depends on what gear you've got and if you get any creeper spawns to deal with the other enemies, which Imek has plenty of by the looks of things. And just dealing with those last few enemies. There's maybe one hiding somewhere. Oh no, there's another wave to spawn in still. Panda has a strength potion, which is also going to help him clear that field a little bit quicker.
Oh, and he also has 2 animals, which will help.
Oh yeah, there you go. So
help him in combat.
That llama gonna spit on some skeletons for a while. But there we go, Imek with the swiftness pulling ahead there.
You found the ancient desert temple. Who knows what truths and treasures await you inside?
There we go, Imek hoping to get that Torment Quiver from Desert Temple next. And Panda making his way to the exit as well. Once again, yes, not all that far. Although, once again, in-game timer, we are looking at an ever so slight lead there from Imek, probably about 20 to 30 seconds.
Well, I'm making a Soul Lantern, which is a new artifact added in, I think, 1.4. Yeah, 1.4.
So that's another kind of pet artifact, but it also runs on souls instead of the usual just summonable pet, right?
Yeah. So it's actually really nice because you can equip it and it will give, when you kill an enemy, it will give you extra souls based on how much soul gathering you have. And so it's just nice to have extra soul gathering.
Yeah, soul gathering being vital for the Torment Quiver, being something that the Soul Knife is usually relied upon for gathering a little bit extra. Because whenever you get any soul weapons or artifacts, and I think a couple of armors as well, it actually boosts your soul gathering. So once you have a full soul build, you can actually gather souls very quickly. But obviously the runners are favoring the gear that makes them fast over the gear that just favors one specific weapon or item.
This looks like another clean key seed.
Yeah, no, this is there's one skeleton and a spider. I think they're going to be fine compared to the Nightmare Seed that we saw Foot Cream and Remortals take on earlier. Some folks in the chat are saying they've honestly never seen Minecraft dungeons before this. And obviously a speedrun is kind of an unusual way to have your first experience of a game, but Minecraft Dungeons is a really fun game to play casually. I played the entire game sort of all the way through across all difficulties. I played through all of the DLC now as well, and it's a really, really fun experience. It's fairly cheap as far as these types of games go, and is a dungeon crawler kind of inspired by stuff like Diablo. So it's not going to have the depth of something like Diablo that has much more of that kind of long-term heritage behind it, but it is a fun game, especially if you're into Minecraft and want something a little different.
Yeah, no obsidian chests on this seed, unfortunately. So.
Yep, looks like they just had to deal with the standard gold chest, but it's worth checking nonetheless, because I feel like obsidian chests have a higher chance for rare loot, but the loot you're getting from them is mostly going to be the same pool of items that the stage draws from, right?
Well, so there are 4 places you can get artifacts. One of them is the pig. One of them are mini-bosses, or bosses. Another one is our obsidian chests, and the other one is the end of level chest.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're basically looking for artifacts there.
Yeah. That's
above
like,
everything else.
That's the main want when we go into getting obsidian chests.
Imek just going with the weapons he has to hand, using as swords to take these things on, where I think all of our previous runs, the runners have had some other kind of weapon that's given them a better advantage at this point, either a glaive, even a venom glaive, or a soul knife at this stage, whereas he's still got a power 3 sword, which is pretty rough gear. You see Panda on the right there, trashing a little bit of gear before this ambush and deciding what enchantments to put on the glaive, favoring the bee. Once again, the pet master, going with a wolf, a bee, and a llama. Probably going for an achievement with that, I think.
Yeah, Panda leaving. Panda, I think, has got better combat so far.
Yes, yeah, he's dealing with these waves of enemies pretty easily, using that TNT to dispatch most of them. Just got, a necromancer that almost got taken down before it spawned anything else. And yeah, these ambushes can hold you up for a while if you don't have the right setup, but looks like Panda is doing what he can. And now the dash for the tomb begins, and we see who's going to get sliced up by these blades. A little bit of a tight squeeze there for Imek, but he's making it through that corridor okay. Encounters the Enderman, is just going to ignore that. Just run on past, and once the fog fades, the Enderman isn't really going to follow you for that much further. So we'll see how Panda deals with the same area, especially if the pets can trigger the Enderman encounter.
Imek's still not getting like any substantially good weapon.
Yeah, so this boss fight is going to be a little bit tricky. But he's got a totem of shielding, so that'll at least save him from Nameless One's projectiles. I feel like you're a good person to talk about the merits of playing keyboard and mouse versus controller as well, because your GDQ run was almost all controller-based, right? But
yes, I am the only top-level runner to play with a controller.
What are the benefits of that for you?
In a game like this, I find it much more comfortable to move
Yeah.
around with a controller.
I think
Keyboard
a lot
and
of
mouse is technically better, but
yes.
it's comfort
Yeah,
for me.
we've already heard about a couple of strats like using bows to get sort of infinite fireworks and that kind of stuff that are only really possible for keyboard and mouse players. But I think a lot of the time it can be about just your level of comfort with it. And I found this game much more fun to play with a controller. I know people who are more used to games like Diablo, which were more traditionally, or World of Warcraft, which are more traditionally kind of keyboard and mouse games. They can find it a little bit more comfortable playing keyboard and mouse. But the fact that the game supports both is obviously really nice.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I'd be running this game if it wasn't for controller being an option.
Yeah. And controller has some advantages in terms of like how quick some of the kind of quick controls are, like being able to get enchantments by just kind of scrolling to them instead of clicking on them, and some of that stuff I feel like could be a little bit faster, but I feel like
once you get it down, controller menuing is a little bit faster than keyboard mouse menuing.
Yeah, but again, the auto aim when controller is kind of a double-edged sword because I feel like it can help or hinder you in situations like this where you've got a target-rich environment but you want to attack one specific target. Sometimes the controller gives you a harder time with that, whereas with the mouse you can just hover over the enemy and usually you hit it.
One of the other bigger downsides to the controller is when you try and activate like an objective or break something or open a chest, the controller will, when you want to control it, it will try and prioritize attacking enemies in the vicinity instead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a small downside there.
Yeah, we had Panda catching up in terms of real time, but in terms of the in-game timer, it looks like Imek is still a little bit ahead on that overall time. Just having a little bit of a rough fight against the nameless one there. Panda picking up an Evo robe and going with the is that the hunter's bow as well?
That's a trick bow.
Oh, trick bow. Okay.
I think right now Panda wants to get his power level up, which I don't know if it's been discussed yet, but when you enter a level, depending on your power level, it's theorized that, like, well, I'm not sure if it's confirmed, but if you enter a level with higher level power, there's a chance that higher level stuff will spawn when you're going to the level.
Yeah. It sort of depends, I think, because the way I figured it out, and I did a little bit of looking into this when I was doing my weaponless run, was if you enter a level and then you quit out to the camp, it actually recalculates the loot you're going to get from the level based on your current power level. So it's not necessarily when you load the level itself, but it's when you load the camp and then reopen the map. That's when it does the recalculation. So a lot of the time, if you're finding that you get low-level stuff as you leave a level, it's because you end up going back to the camp with low-level gear. But if you equip all of your best stuff before you leave the level, when you go back to camp, the map kind of figures out that, oh, you've got higher-level gear now, I'm going to give you high-level stuff on the next screen. So that might not be something that you can take into account on a run like this, because you're obviously salvaging gear to get emeralds to buy better stuff from the vendor. But it's an interesting thing to work around, and right now, obviously, the vendor can't really be taken into account for that because they changed the way it works in 1.4, and you have to complete a level before the vendor will refresh its stock. And even restocking, I think, takes into account the previous power level you had before you completed another level.
Yeah, I'm not sure of it entirely myself.
Yeah, there's a lot of mechanics that aren't really too heavily explained because you're meant to be playing through the game just sort of casually picking up the better weapons as you go. And default difficulty is really all about finding your preferred play style when you play casually. It's about, like, do you want to favor really heavy-hitting stuff and just being a tank, or sort of you effectively spec out your class as you go, and then the further difficulty levels into Adventure and Apocalypse mode kind of build on that and allow you to really specialize a little bit more. Once again, it works so much better in co-op when you have a variety of players. But I think, in the early days, it's just about swapping out your worse gear for better gear as you go. But obviously, you don't really have time to grind levels and stuff like that when you're trying to complete the game as fast as possible.
Both players here on the Redstone Golem, and Panda finishing it a little bit earlier with that nice soul knife.
Yes. And
So,
Imek, I think, has, if not a bow with accelerate, then at least a pretty fast short bow.
yeah, it's
That's
just,
able to
I
make...
think it's just a normal short bow.
yeah, but still having a fairly easy time of dealing with the redstone golem, and it looks like completing the level a little bit ahead of Panda in-game time-wise.
Yeah, but I think Panda made up about 5 seconds there.
Mm-hmm.
Just from
Having
the
that
boss.
Yeah, having the Evo robe probably helped a little bit with speed as well, so... It is a closer run than it was last time, thanks to Panda's gear not crashing, I think, this time.
Oh, a feather in the store for Imek. That'll be not taking it. Or at least
Having a hard time putting together the emeralds, and maybe going for something a little cheaper.
Don't know what his menu was doing for a second there. Oh, and a nice soul knife. If he can afford that, he's definitely going to take it.
Yep, trashing everything he has to get that soul knife. Trashing the sword as well, and reserving... Oh, no, unreserving the gear. That's an interesting aspect of the merchant that I haven't really used all that much, because towards the end of my experience with dungeons, I didn't tend to use the merchants all that much, but you can choose to hold gear in the store, so it'll still be there even after you reset the camp because you finished a level. So potentially if there's stuff that you don't have enough emeralds for, you can come back and claim it later, which is quite a neat way of doing it.
Okay, both players are much closer than match this time, both entering Fiery Forge around the same time.
Is the hidden chest there at the start of Fiery Forge, is that typically going to give you something useful for the run?
It depends. You're mainly probably looking for armor from it, because or a hammer if your weapon isn't good yet.
Yeah, I suppose it's all about filling the gaps in your setup at this point, because if you've made it this far on a standard run when you're not thinking about the tournament, then you're probably pretty happy with at least some of the stuff that you've got, and it's about filling the gaps.
Yeah, on an actual run, the only thing you can really get here that you'd want is a mercenary armor with some kind of speed enchant. But Imek's making a lot of ground here just because of that swift foot on his Evo robe.
Yes, that plus the boots of swiftness, he's basically moving more or less as fast as he possibly can.
Yeah, if he had like another boot, then he'd be going insane speed.
Yeah. It's funny that, like, obviously the double boot is relatively rare, but that is the most sought after start of the game that you can possibly have, and it's, aside from maybe getting luck with the vendor, I don't think it's really possible to get a double boot much after Creeper Woods.
You get one from Desert Temple if you get a boot.
Right, but yeah, I think Desert Temple just has like a larger pool of stuff to draw from, whereas in Creeper Woods you have a pig and an end of level chest that have relatively good odds.
Yeah. Oh wow, so they're both very... Imek's pulled ahead massively here. But, actually no, Imek's got better combat stuff now. So, Panda's looking a bit...
He's on the ropes.
He's on the ropes.
He's still rocking the llama and the wolf, which probably tells you something about how his gear has been going. But yeah, to be fair, they are holding up okay. Going for that pig on the way past, just in case it's got anything handy. It looks like a mercenary armor from that. Not anything better than he already has, though. And neither player with a torment quiver right now, so you're not looking at a nice, easy redstone monstrosity today.
So an interesting thing that's kind of maybe not so obvious about that pig. Is having a pig just before this boss is actually really good, because there is a chance if you don't have a torment quiver, the pig will always drop one consumable. And so if you get a strength pot, then that can save you a little bit of time.
Both players actually timing it right to use the cores there to damage a little bit more of the redstone monstrosity's health, just trying to tip the scales in their favor, because otherwise with the gear they've got, this fight is going to go pretty slowly, and those cubes that it spawns can be a little bit annoying because they'll just deal little chip damage to you. Imek all done with the redstone monstrosity, checks his gear and heads for the exit. Panda is not too far behind real time, but once again, the in-game timer is all that matters.
And we've got high block holes coming up where anything can happen.
Oh yes, especially with the setups they've got. They've got fast setups, but not necessarily all of the power they would want, so we'll see how all of this goes.
Imek got probably the only good artifact that you can get from Fiery Forge.
Yes, the flaming quiver.
Yeah, the rest of them are like not very good in the speedrun at all. Just not worth it.
And Panda gets an Ironhide amulet, which once again is going to help with protection, and buys a soul knife. That's a level 16.
Wow, that's very high.
Which is looking pretty good. Adds committed to it for the enchantment and is looking to restock the vendor, but is going back into Fiery Forge for some reason. I'm not sure if that's a misclick.
That might be a misclick, unless he's playing it safe and going to get better armor.
Could potentially be. Nope, he's returning to camp. Yeah, that looked like a misclick. He was just a little bit concerned with the vendor loot, I think. Yeah, all right, there he goes. He's off to high block halls.
So since that brown chest is so near the start level, in a tournament like this, if you've got like level 1 armor still somehow, at this point, you can always go back in and try and roll that chest for something. Yeah,
but with both players having relatively decent gear, the Evo robe's working pretty well for them. It seems likely they're just going to try and power through on speed alone until they get to these ambushes, which we see Imek facing now.
Yeah, so this is the one ambush, this is like the one particular tile, which is the slowest one, in theory.
Yes. This is unskippable and also just a real pain in the butt to fight.
Yeah. I don't think we've seen a key yet.
No, that's interesting, really. And it's not something that, having played casually, I found came up all that much either. I pretty much always ended up in this room. So, yeah, it may be that it just doesn't favor that when it generates a level. It's got a lower chance of appearing.
It feels like it when you're doing runs. Because it's the fastest possible tile. And you can have such a good run going and just not get the key tile.
Imek with the scatter crossbow. We'll wait and see if he's got any useful enchants on that.
Even if he doesn't have any good enchants, he'll certainly be better than his current bow.
Panda taking a minute to respec his character slightly during this fight. Putting on that Ironhide amulet and a soul healer as well. Looks like he's a little bit worried about his health at this stage in the run. And not really being able to use the souls for anything else right now because of not having the Torment Quiver to worry about. He is just trying to take what he can from the soul knife. Alright, Imek clearing the ambush. Doesn't look like the scatter crossbow is much worth having.
I'm really shocked that he's not putting that on. That scatter crossbow is incredibly good. I'm not sure why he's not putting it on.
Maybe he's just not liking the enchants or something, I'm not certain.
It's got Fuchsia on it, which is one of the best enchants you can get on a scatter.
Just the heat of the run at this point, I'm wondering. But Panda dealing with the ambush now as well, so not too terribly far behind.
Wow, the seed is not good at all.
Yeah, this is looking a little bit treacherous here.
So whilst the worst combo in Cacti Canyon was baby zombies and creepers, the worst combo in this level is guards, well, what we call guards, the guys with the shields, and enchanters. Because you could just get like ping-ponged around by the guards. Because they attack
absolutely.
So fast.
I'm not sure quite how randomized it is, the enchantments they give to certain allies, but yeah, you can definitely get a combination. Yeah, you see it happening to Panda there, where the Royal Guard's attack gets increased, or they do double damage, and it just becomes really, really difficult to deal with them. Obviously, the enchanters aren't going to give them stuff that benefits ranged attackers, so they are choosing from a set list of enchantments that apply to melee attackers. Yeah, Panda's just getting...
I'm surprised Panda's still trying to go down this path and hasn't decided to walk around yet.
Yeah, he is trying to pick off the enchanters while he can and having to drop back a little bit to deal with some of the enemies. Only got 1 life left and 1 respawn after that, so it's not looking too hot.
Yeah, if Panda keeps going that one path, he's going to not be able to get through. He needs to go around the other way. It looks like he's going to try it again.
Yep, and getting cornered by those guards, unfortunately. Looks like he's able to make his way out, but they're still tagging him with a couple of hits. Imek reaching the obsidian chest, picking up a saber wing, which is not a unique we've seen yet, and probably not all that useful. I'm thinking saber wing has... I think, Radiant Shot built into it. It's one of the ones that heals you when you use it, but...
Radiant isn't very good.
Yeah, it's not super useful for the speedrun. And Radiant Shot, I found, is, like, way less useful than Radiance on a melee weapon, but even for this, you guys are pretty much in control of your health throughout the whole run. It's got 2 sets of enchantments on it, though, which I don't think we see all that much in the run because you're using such low-level gear.
Yeah, you see it occasionally. I like finally swap into the scatter.
Maybe he's saving it for this room specifically, didn't want to do too much menuing.
And Panda, I missed it, finally got through.
There we go. Making his way through that courtyard, grabbing the well exit. There are 2 different ways you can leave that area. You can either hunt down a gold key and try and get it to the door, which takes you into the buffet from a slightly different room, or you can take this room kind of in the sewer system of the castle, which is probably a little bit faster just because you don't have to make your way through mobs, wait for the key door to open. You can come up basically halfway through the buffet area, and it saves some time dealing with some of the enemies.
Yeah, Panda's also got a scatter, which is very nice. Not as good in chance, but it's really high level.
Mm-hmm. Panda taking a few hits of the buffet, but Imek is dealing with the last of the Royal Guards, and if not on the last wave, then I feel like he's only got a wave or 2 left.
Yeah, there's about 7 waves, and they're very predictable, actually. So the first wave is always a bunch of guards, guys with shields. And then I think waves 2 and 3 are always Illagers and Vindicators. Might be 3 and 4. I never really keep count. And beyond that, it's all like Wraiths, Archers, and Guards.
Yeah. The Wraiths are the worst. They're the ones that bring up all of this blue fire around you constantly. I mean, you have to basically always be moving, and if you get cornered and there's a bunch of those on you, they can drain your health pretty quickly.
Yeah, Wraiths aren't very fun to deal with, but yeah.
Alright, Panda catching up to the Arch-Illager throne room, and Imek with still 1 respawn left, so he's not doing too badly. Going into this last fight, just has to play it a little bit safer, and he should be finishing up fairly soon. Moving on to Obsidian Pinnacle. There we go, just 1 more Pillager to take down, 1 more over there, and I think that is it. Yep, there we go. He is all clear on high block holes and probably breathing a sigh of relief.
So Panda here should really swap armor, because Fever Rub does not give you much defense or health at all.
Yeah, it's just going to allow you to move around a little bit, and if you just get cornered and you're trying to fight your way out, it's not going to be the easiest thing to deal with.
Yeah, he really should swap. So he's got like 3 reinforced mails in his inventory.
I'm getting a firework arrow and checking the merchant 1 last time. Got a death cap there, but I don't know if that's going to be worthwhile. Not at this point. He's got his setup locked in, and he's off to Obsidian Pinnacle.
Panda has been playing this so incredibly safe.
Yeah, and I think, given his previous record and the fact that I think he is only... Yeah, he's on his last life. He has last chance right now, so I think he is doing his best just to make it through this level without having to reset. I always like when the enemies in Obsidian Pinnacle use the bounce pads just because of their natural movement, and so occasionally you'll just see archers or vindicators just springing from the pads as you run underneath them.
Like sometimes in OP you'll be walking through the level and you'll see a random item on the floor because like Imek just passed, an enemy has walked into one of those like fire hay bale stacks.
Yeah, and just immediately takes damage. That's pretty great. Oh, and yep, he backtracking a little bit there and running straight into a bunch of enchanted Royal Guards. That's a little bit rough luck, but it looks like he misread the objective marker and went north there instead of following the direction he should have been going.
Well, I see Panda's finally decided to swap armors as well.
Imek doubling down on that mercenary armor.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the right call here because he really needs that extra defense.
Oh, and the enemies here are enchanted with Fire Trail, which is always really rough. It's such a difficult enchantment to deal with when you have low HP. And your HP in this game is a base value that is also added to by whatever armor you've got. So higher power level armor is basically how you become buff. Your character doesn't gain any stats as they level up. It's all based on your equipment.
Yeah, the other thing leveling up really does is just give you enchant points.
Yes, yeah, which can obviously help improve that stuff, but the power level of your gear is vastly important, and as we've said several times already, I think a lot of the time you end up going into these areas like vastly under-leveled for what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, like there's like a bunch of other levels that you should be really completing alongside this. But
Yeah, it turns out the game has more content, but hey, speedrun.
yeah, but if you want to, all missions does everything. So,
Yes, yeah. How does the gear set in all missions tend to look? Does it look much different to what we see in any percent?
Not really, honestly.
Yeah.
The only thing that really changes is your power level higher, and you're more average, likely to have the best gear. So you must more likely to have, double boots and some swifter armor and something else.
Does all missions follow a lot of the same like level structure? Do you tend to go and do certain levels first, like to get the torment quiver and stuff early? Is that usually the plan?
So all missions actually has a lot of variability. So how you run it. Currently, Yom, who has the current record, he does Pumpkin Pastures, which has like the really small chance of giving you Archaven, which I think a lot of casual players probably know how frustrating that is.
Yeah.
He does it after Desert Temple, whereas I prefer to do it right at the start after Creeper Woods.
Yeah, I guess at that point you know how quickly you're going to reset.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I don't know if I've ever played Archaven. Honestly, and having played this game probably like 40 hours maybe total, maybe a little bit more. I don't think I've ever seen that level. So yeah,
the tile that spawns it, we think has about roughly a 5% chance to spawn.
Which is crazy because like, yes, this is a game where you're meant to go back and replay levels a whole bunch, but playing Pumpkin Pastures potentially 20 times, statistically speaking, to get a level to spawn is really not going to be that beneficial to you.
No, it's very frustrating.
All right, Imek now on last chance on Obsidian Pinnacle, having made the corridor skip, so heading towards the stairs at this point, but having to play it a little bit safe around these guards so he doesn't take another death and get sent straight back to camp.
Yeah, that particular tile back there where he died was really rough.
But he's made it to the stairs. Panda is giving chase, but is also dealing with a lot of difficult enemies. Has a decent Evo robe as far as levels. I think he might have picked up a slightly more leveled up one, but is still having real trouble getting past some of those more enchanted enemies. Imek doubling down on that fuse shot to take out the Arch Illager, and with not exactly the ideal setup for boss fights, but he's got a soul knife at least, so he's going to be dealing some decent melee damage with that. Is timing those shots so he gets the fuse shot basically right as the Arch Illager becomes attackable.
I'm just going to play this really safe with being on last chance, especially
definitely.
Heart of Ender, which I think all casual players know about the frustrations.
Yes, definitely.
Of Heart of Ender.
Yeah, in a game that has a lot of fairly easy to predict mechanics fairly early, Heart of Ender can seem like a massive change of pace because suddenly it's throwing a lot of like almost undodgeable attacks at you that deal damage really fast. It's got a fire trail that it that follows it around, and obviously like some of those attacks can be lethal if you're not prepared for them, but Imek manages to take that very, very well. And that is time. 36:19, so about 2 minutes difference from the previous run, I think. But yeah, all in all, a pretty solid performance from Imek, and Panda still playing catch-up at this stage. Panda looks like he's heading up to corridor skip, but I don't think he would be making up enough ground at this point, so I think it's pretty fair to call it in favor of Imek.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's over now.
And Panda's timer also about 40 seconds ahead of Imek's final time. So that'll do it.
I'll do it. I will undeafen them both.
All right, that is it. We are looking at another win from Imek, 36-19, the final time, and a lot closer that time. We got to say, like between the two of you, there were a lot more close moments. All right, that is it.
Really?
We are looking at another
I
win.
don't know, my beginning just was so crazy comparatively.
I don't from what I did not get good stuff in that round at all. Like I only got a boot and there was like Evo robes, but I'd say the weapons were great, but the speed was just terrible. Like there was no speed at all.
Yeah, that was
Do you want to know my beginning, Panda?
What'd you get?
Boot and Evo Swiftfoot.
Oh my god.